Progressive Alliance, Gayle McLaughlin and Juan Reardon. Please give them your undivided attention.
All right, thank you all. Get this here, the way that it works for me. Yeah, I think what I'll do is... Well, thank you so much for allowing me to share some words with you here at your General Assembly today.
If you're with me, clap once. If you're with me, clap twice. If you're with me, clap 3 times. This is the mayor, former mayor, Green Party leader, Gayle McLaughlin.
Thank you all so much. It's really great to be here, and I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity to say a few words here at your General Assembly today. I've had the pleasure of meeting many of you, and some of you are new faces to me, so I'm very pleased to be here with all of you this afternoon. I have a number of things to say, and we'll get going right away here. So I hear that the Green Party is doing some great advancement in recruiting new members. These days are ripe for people to embrace the Green Party key values and organize with others to become active and mobilized. So I congratulate the Green Party and celebrate this progress. Now, a little background on me. I came to Richmond and joined the Richmond Greens around 2003. I activated with the Richmond Greens and felt part of the Peter Cameo current inside the Green Party. I knew Peter from early days, and we had great conversations. For a period of time, I was a member of the Green Party Contra Costa County Council. It was clear to us at a certain point that we did not have enough Richmond Greens to transform Richmond. For whatever reasons, valid or not, people were not joining the Greens quickly enough, and the pressing issues of Richmond needed our immediate attention. So with other Richmond Greens in 2003, I joined with people of different party affiliations, mostly progressive Democrats and others, to create the RPA, an organization that is inclusive, non-sectarian, diverse, corporate-free, and very active year-round, seeking local political power for our residents by running for office. I was elected to the City Council in 2004, while registered as a Green Party member. I was elected mayor 2 years later and became the mayor of the largest city in the U.S. with an elected Green Party registered mayor. And I was re-elected mayor in 2010 and served as mayor for another 4 years as a registered Green and RPA member. I worked every day of my council member days and mayoral days guided by the Green values, knowing also that my successes and failures would reflect on the Green Party. I honestly think that the significant transformation of Richmond by the RPA and the key Green members in it, including myself, reflected well on the Green Party. Every electoral battle we had in Richmond was a head-on competition with candidates endorsed, supported, and financed by both Chevron and the local Democratic Party. We took them on and gave them no quarter. After Peter Cameo's perspective on the 2004 presidential election was set aside at the Milwaukee Green Party Convention, we in Richmond did not feel well represented by the party. After Cameo's illness and death in 2008, we, the Richmond Greens, who defined ourselves as Cameísta Greens, felt on the outskirts of the party. In all honesty, we were also so focused on transforming the painful reality of Richmond with all those who wanted to help, regardless of party affiliation. We were so focused on this that, we did not have the time to dedicate to partisan discussion and debates. We became less actively engaged in the Green Party. I must say that the core leadership of the RPA continues to have a strong cadre of registered Greens, folks of the caliber of Mike Parker, Tim Laidman, Margaret Jordan, Tony Sestek, Paul LaRudy, and others have been at the gravitational center of the RPA. Most voted for Bernie in the primary and went back to re-register Green. I and a few others switched to no party preference NPP to vote for Bernie Sanders in the primary and are remaining there for now. I say for now because the times are fluid. In my opinion, the Bernie revolution shook up the nation and our state in a way that would have taken the Green Party 30 years to do. It is just a fact of political life. Bernie spoke many of our truths and beliefs. And he spoke them in a way that people trusted him and mobilized at his calls. Regular people got into new thinking and kept mobilizing. We needed and still need this phenomenon to continue. Bernie is trying to reform the Democratic Party, to liberate it from corporate domination. There is a lot of resistance among the corporate Dems addicted to the corporate money. But Bernie, in my opinion, earned the right to try. And I want to be able to support him as much as possible within the constraints of my political and moral values. If he runs in another primary, I want to be with the millions who will be voting for him. If he is a presidential candidate in the runoffs of 2020, I want to be able to vote for him and encourage people of all political affiliations and no political affiliation to do the same. I want to help expand that 30 years leap forward that Bernie started. I want us all to be released from the stagnation that our state and nation have existed in for years. And I believe that furthering the movement that Bernie's efforts and that of our revolution, the group that Bernie launched, has ignited. And I believe this is an important task of this moment in our history. So I have chosen to run for statewide office as a candidate for California Lieutenant Governor with no political party affiliation to advance our progressive movement that has already received great momentum. I see this race as an organizing project for the progressive movement. I run as a corporate-free, green values, social and economic justice progressive, and as a revolutionary values independent, one who embraces all those who are against the corporate control of our democratic process and are trying to find a way forward. So I support Bernie Sanders in our revolution. I believe that being an independent Bernie supporter will put me closer to many of the 4 million independent Californians who are registered no party preference. These folks have not joined the Green Party. They had that option for years and decided not to do it. That is another fact of political life. I hope to bring many of them into this campaign with the progressive social justice, economic justice, and environmental justice values and policies that I have lived throughout my life and continue to support. I will encourage all of them to join this local political work with their neighbors and friends who are registered Greens, Progressive Democrats, Socialists, or no party preference. I will not join any corporate-controlled party. I will not join the Democratic Party. I am running as an independent progressive who supports the Our Revolution movement as a place of activism and political work for people from different party affiliations. This is exactly how we did it in Richmond. We converged and did work under the conditions of the time. We kept our values and paid little attention to party affiliation. And with the good efforts of so many, we significantly and successfully transformed our city into a much better place. So let me tell you a bit about the Richmond Progressive Alliance and our transformational work in Richmond, our local revolution in Richmond. Let me start by mentioning some of our most significant achievements. I was the first corporate-free member of the City Council in Richmond and served 2 terms as a corporate-free mayor. For a time, I was the only corporate-free member of the council. In time, that changed, and we now have a supermajority of 5 out of 7 council members who are true progressives, members of the RPA, and elected without a dime of corporate money. And we have transformed Richmond and continue transforming it into a significantly better city. The RPA and I believe that if we were able to do this in Richmond, California, under the yoke of Chevron's refinery, it can be done anywhere and everywhere. We also believe that the times are ripe for grassroots community organizing. The insurgence against Washington and against the corporate control of our state and nation is massive and promising. It needs to be also channeled into local, corporate-free, progressive political power. Since I was a co-founder of the RPA with others in 2003, we had many experiences and overcame many challenges. More recently, many communities and organizations have asked how we did it. And the RPA and I are taking our message, sharing our experience of developing corporate-free local political power to many California cities. Communities and organizations throughout the state are getting to know personally those of us who led a spirited pursuit of Richmond's progressive policies, which include an increase in the local minimum wage, promoting community policing and community mobilization against crime, supporting the Office of Neighborhood Safety, and a reform-minded chief of police. All this resulted in a 75% reduction in homicides in 8 years. We increased the Citizen Review Commission powers for oversight of the police department. We've promoted community choice aggregation for Richmond, by which currently 85% of our residents and businesses get greener and less expensive electricity. We promoted the widely reported plan to appropriate underwater mortgages from big banks using city eminent domain powers to keep homeowners in their homes and keep neighborhoods stable. We passed the first fair rent control and just cause for eviction law in 30 years in California to protect renters and homeowners. We've defended our immigrants and the city's sanctuary status. We ended driver's license checkpoints, and we've created a municipal ID for all people residing in Richmond who want an ID, including those with immigration status. We restricted the influence of the Chevron Corporation in Richmond politics and elections. We redefined Chevron's local taxes to the tune of $114 million more in taxes over 15 years. That's an average of $7.5 million a year. We're working on redefining the environmental obligations of this corporation, this oil giant, by way of capping emissions and then reducing them. We filed a lawsuit against Chevron for its abuses and damages to Richmond residents. We promoted solidarity in the development of worker-owned co-ops. We ended the local criminalization of the homeless. We preserved our North Richmond shoreline from inappropriate development. We affirmed and defended LGBT rights and equality for all in Richmond. We rejected an urban casino, and we defended the city employees and their union SEIU 1021. We also implemented safe return policies for Richmond residents returning from incarceration. We opposed the expansion of local jails. We defended public schools and opposed the expansion of charter schools. And we opposed, going back a few years, the Patriot Act, militarism, wars, and U.S. acts of economic aggression and embargoes toward other countries. We created a nationally acclaimed green jobs training program and led the Bay Area in solar installation per capita in 2010. We advanced locally a climate action plan, a pesticide use moratorium, a green building ordinance, a plastic bag ban, a styrofoam ban. We created more bicycle paths. And we are greening Richmond more and more at every opportunity. Our successes in Richmond are based on building our local corporate-free organization, the RPA, and having the freedom and accumulated capacity to take on the corporate greed of big oil, big pharma, big banks, big soda, big charters, big landlords, and so many more. We run local elections to organize the community. The organization emerging from the electoral struggle continues educating and activating the community in non-electoral years. The community develops more support and the progressive leadership gets better skilled in each electoral cycle. It is clear to us by the many invitations we are receiving to share our experience that our RPA model has great relevance to others. We have traveled and met with residents of California cities from San Diego to Redding. Presentations have taken place in San Jose, Pinole, El Cerrito, Pacifica, San Joaquin County, Stanislaus County, San Leandro, Albany, Shasta County, Napa County, and Lake County. And in the coming days, I will visit Concord, Oakland, San Francisco, Monterey, Watsonville, San Luis Obispo, and San Bernardino. Some of the groups welcoming us are Our Revolution affiliates. Some groups are well established and others are just starting up and thinking about how to act locally to gain political control of their city governments, too often in the hands of corporations and their representatives. We are also aware that there are issues that cannot be solved on the local level and need to be solved on the state and national level. My campaign for Lieutenant Governor of California 2018 provides a greater stage and louder megaphone for mobilizing this local power and bringing it into focus and bringing the needed statewide solutions to our collective problems into better focus. Our campaign is mobilizing more and more residents in many cities by sharing our Richmond experience and our successes, and by encouraging regular folks to come together regardless of party affiliation into corporate-free, year-round, diverse and inclusive organizations that challenge themselves beyond what they had thought was possible, and that encouraging them also to run people for office. Through my campaign and by highlighting my past electoral successes and track record of accomplishments in Richmond, we are helping to facilitate a network of and joint work between cities, state unions, and progressive groups. We are organizing the many issues that cannot be solved by local politics and require statewide solutions, including single-payer health care coverage, Free College California, split roll Prop 13 reform, no fracking in California and 100% clean energy, oil severance tax, millionaires tax, aid to California cities for sustainable development, defending our immigrants, affordable housing and rent control, defending the promise of a K through 12 public education and opposing the expansion of charter schools, and of course defending union organizing in California, and lastly, and very importantly, campaign finance reform.
Yes. Yes.
So I am sharing such ideas and hearing from others. All these ideas and more are ideas that put people first. So I have officially started my campaign for Lieutenant Governor 10 days ago with the goals of putting people first, but also organizing corporate-free local groups throughout the state and giving voters the choice of a corporate-free candidate. My campaign for local Lieutenant Governor is a grassroots organizing campaign. It gives me a special opportunity to reach out to many communities and remind them that all politics is local politics. In our cities, we can achieve the first successes and lessons and how to win the big battles. I will consider our campaign successful if by the end of 2018 we have helped to establish corporate-free progressive organizations in 100 California cities. And when members of these inclusive, diverse, multi-party organizations are running candidates for local city councils and local school boards without taking corporate money and supported by their local alliances. If the people of California also elect me as their first woman Lieutenant Governor, and more importantly, as their first corporate-free progressive Lieutenant Governor, fantastic. I will use the position to diligently watch for corporate corruption in Sacramento, to denounce it, and to rally the people of California. I will also continue the grassroots organizing throughout the state. Pardon? Okay, sorry. I will also continue the grassroots organizing throughout the state. With my record, you know that I will not let the people down. Here's what I find exciting and compelling about this rare opportunity to win an executive office seat with a corporate-free candidacy. California is strong Bernie territory. There are millions of Sanders supporters from Mendocino to San Diego who would embrace a true corporate-free candidate for Lieutenant Governor. California's open primary system selects for the November ballot the two candidates with the highest number of votes, regardless of party affiliation. California corporations will continue to influence a large sector of the Democratic Party in 2018. Corporations supporting corporate Democratic Party candidates are likely to invest their support and resources in higher level races like governor and senator. There will not be so much attention to the lieutenant governor's race. Californians will embrace my campaign because they are fed up with a state government that's Democratic-filled, but too often corporate-dominated and insufficiently helpful on key labor, environmental, election law reform, and fair taxation issues. And if many decide to hold their noses and vote for a corporate Democrat for governor, they may be inclined to cast a vote for a true progressive and corporate-free independent who promises to be a watchdog and a tribune for the people of the state as lieutenant governor. I will challenge the influence of big money in politics as I have in Richmond by refusing business and corporate donations. This will be good for California's progressive movement. I will be the candidate of and for the 99% with huge crossover appeal to voters in the Democratic Party, other parties, and all the independents who are sick and tired of corporate America's corruption and domination. I am a proven entity and vetted candidate who does not break or surrender, and I am kind and inclusive. Along with my campaign team, I am bringing together a cadre of knowledgeable and committed activists throughout the state who understand that our state is under corporate control and are eager to work on my 2018 campaign. We need to expand the movement as an independent political force up and down the state. I am committed to doing all I can to spur such an expansion and hope you will join me in this endeavor. The movement I want to expand is larger than the Green Party, but it also includes the Green Party. I continue to embrace the 10 key values, and I seek to put them into action as a candidate for lieutenant governor without any ties to any corporate-controlled party, with no party affiliation, and a lifetime of independent activism. My campaign is an organizing project to rally progressives together, and we are in this to win it. In the hope that you will see the value of this campaign and the potential of having a corporate-free elected lieutenant governor, I respectfully ask for the endorsement of the Green Party of California. In addition, I will be seeking the endorsement of the Peace and Freedom Party and the Justice Party. I am also seeking the endorsement of the National Our Revolution organization in DC, as well as local OR organizations throughout California, and many, many other organizations, unions, and individuals. I recognize you have a process for endorsements and will follow whatever guidelines you have in place. With that, I am more than happy to answer any questions about our experiences in Richmond, our outreach efforts, and my campaign. So thank you very much for your attention.
I'll time you, and please keep your questions to 1 minute or less, because I'm sure a lot of questions.
Do we line up or what?
Yeah, line up like
I want to ask a question.
and try to do a gender stack with each other.
Did you get your water bill? We're gonna,
Two questions. Where are you going to be in San Bernardino? I think somebody told me about that. And the other one is, a lot of us here, as well as a number of the people that were involved in the Our Revolution, whatever it was, organization. At first, you know, they quit, a lot of them, because they saw it, because they decided to take corporate donations. That's one of the reasons why I'm wondering, I mean, a lot of us here, what I started to say, would see that as a Democratic Party front organization, actually, a front group. So, what are your thoughts about that?
Regarding San Bernardino, the San Bernardino meeting is still in evolution. It's a young group.
James Albert?
Yes, that's him. He's the man.
I know who you
That was the only question.
Well, and the other one, the Our Revolution.
Where some are, you know, every time I speak to whatever our revolution group that, or whatever group I speak to, I emphasize the importance, the essentialness of corporate-free elections and corporate-free organizations. So that's what I'm trying to influence, everywhere I go.
All right.
Yeah, so I just have a couple questions. I believe it was Laura Wells who ran for governor in 2010, and she couldn't get into the debates. I believe she was arrested, I believe is correct. Do you think that running as an NPP candidate, that will be any different?
Good question.
So I don't know. Lieutenant governor is different than the gubernatorial race. I don't know yet whether there will be debates. I certainly will try to get into them if I can. And, like I said, we're starting now, which is a year and a half before November, and hope to be in the primary and win one of the top two in June. So we're building this from the bottom up, and we think the people will be there. They're already galvanizing toward the campaign. So whether or not they let us in the debates, if there will be debates or not, I will be getting a lot of radio attention and a lot of outreach through our presentations, and hopefully others throughout their locales will be spreading the word as well. So, whether or not debates will happen and I'll be in it, I don't know, but I would certainly try.
So Ralph Nader ran as a Green Party candidate, and then ran later, he exited the Green Party. Is there a reason, or what's your opinion on the reason for that kind of trend in politics?
So I know the Green Party endorsed Ralph Nader on his 2000 campaign. I don't know if he was registered Green or not, but he was not. Okay, so but I know the Green Party did endorse him. My reason, I can only speak to my reason, is that I believe where we're at right now in this kind of 30-year leap forward that the Sanders campaign, which I think was a surprise to everyone, including Sanders, I want to keep that going, and I believe that is bigger than the Green Party, and I think I can reach out to those those many millions who are NPP, no party preference, and progressive Democrats who would support a corporate-free candidate. So I guess I'm seeing the reason is because I think the movement is bigger than the Green Party.
Hi, I have a broader question for you because I'm very concerned about capitalism and socialism and which way we're going, and how does your candidacy impact there? Would you speak to a few words on that?
Yes, of course, and also reaching out to socialist groups and such. I mean, I think it's clear that, our efforts in Richmond have always seen capitalism as the big problem, with profits being put before the needs of people. So I definitely see this as a move toward that equity that the socialist, ideology puts forward, and I think it's a direction that needs to happen, an eco-socialist direction. And so our campaign will definitely be talking about the content of that all those values.
Any specific issue there?
Well, I think economic equity is very important. I mean, in Richmond, we have raised the minimum wage to $13 an hour, and we will be raising it next month, now that we have a super majority on the council, to $15 an hour. I mean, we're going to do it, over the course of a year and a half, but by 2019, Richmond will be at $15 an hour. The state is not going up to $15 an hour until 2022. I believe, or maybe longer, I don't know. But I would like to see the state go up faster, and we all know $15 an hour actually isn't a living wage either. So I think, raising wages and moving it up to living wage ultimately is certainly very, very important, and that progressive taxation, the taxation of corporations, getting them to pay their fair share, getting them to closing the loophole in Prop 13 and putting forward a millionaire's tax. All those things, I think, help bring about more equality of wealth in the country and the state.
Hi, Gail.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. There's a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters that were part of the 2016 campaign in here. There's many Bernie delegates, people that ran for delegate for Bernie Sanders like myself, that one of the big reasons why I think we're here is because Bernie Sanders ran this race, and because of his supporters and people making t-shirts and buttons and doing it on their own, and you know, it was the people that really got him to where he needed to go with $222 million in $27 donations. We got him to a contested convention where Hillary Clinton did not win 2,383 delegates. She did not win, so it was a contested convention. A lot of the reason I believe many of the Bernie delegates that are in this room that are running for office on the Green Party ticket, the reason we're here is because we gave Bernie Sanders $222 million in $27 donations, and instead of contesting the convention, he suspended the rules of the convention and nominated to bring Hillary Clinton in as a nominee. So my question is, that's probably the reason we're here, but probably the reason we're still here, and what I want your opinion on is, you know, what is your opinion on Bernie Sanders' silence over the election fraud and the DNC fraud lawsuit? What is your opinion on his silence on that?
So I did not agree with the endorsement of Hillary Clinton. I voted for Jill Stein. I know Bernie Sanders isn't perfect on everything. I do think he has vocalized the values that most people, if not everyone, likely everyone in this room, holds to a great extent. Not totally, but to a great extent. And to me, that great extent has caused a mobilization and caused so many people to get active. I think that activity needs to be sustained and moved forward. So I know, you know, nobody's perfect. I hold my own views. I would not support Hillary Clinton, but you know, I guess, you know, that's his. I guess I figure the amount of work that he did, and as someone who gives speeches and presentations, I know how much of a toll, and anybody else in this room who has done that, it takes a toll on a person. It's a, you know, it's a really vigorous, campaigning is very vigorous, and I'm sure for president it's exceptionally so. I think he's earned the right to you know, talk about reforming the Democratic Party. And that's where, you know, I'm staying independent, staying with my values, don't agree with everything, but I think he's earned the right to try, you know, what he's doing.
Just the last note on our behalf, $222 million in $27 contributions. The supporters of Bernie Sanders deserve the right to democracy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well said.
Hi, Gail. I have two questions. The first is, you came on my radar in Richmond when, having lost our family home to foreclosure, your initiative to use eminent domain to buy the homes, and I mean, that was amazing. And I know that at some point you had been soliciting other cities, this is when the bank countersued. I want to get your thoughts on this question of scale and like the need to scale up these local projects. So that's one thing, that's one question. The other is looking at being here at the Green Party convention with people who are interested in building the party. There are a couple of things on your explanation as to why not run green. First, you said this movement is bigger than the Green Party, and two, it's like just a fact of political life. Just for our benefit, I would like you to unpack that a little bit and give us some insight as to some of maybe critiques or things that you have heard, why people aren't joining the Green Party, and maybe what we can do to help, maybe fix some stigmas that are out there or something. And because we are poised at such a moment to grow exponentially, I'd like to know what hurdles do we need to, do you think that we need to overcome in order to grow as a party? Thank you.
So first of all, on the eminent domain issue, other cities were interested. That was the program that we championed in Richmond that said that we wanted to acquire underwater mortgages, not the homes themselves, but the mortgages, to reduce the principal, to do principal reduction in order to make it more affordable for the homeowners to stay in their homes and avoid foreclosure and keep our neighborhoods stable. So many cities were supporting us, but other cities were not wanting to join. We were trying to get a joint powers authority together. Wall Street was all over, it was all over Richmond, was all over every other city, telling, every city that this would harm them and whatever. And we stood strong, and we were not able to get other cities to join us. However, we put enough pressure on the banks that they did do some modifications. And finally, what happened was at the end of 2014, Congress passed a bill that said that any mortgage acquired by eminent domain could not have government insurance. And that was, of course, needed. That was how we were going to proceed. So that, effectively killed the bill. But like I said, we put enough pressure, and it would be nice in the future because foreclosures still happen, and we know that things will not, the housing crisis still continues. In terms, I see Juan wants to give an answer to one of the questions.
No, I just complimenting that we, in Richmond, we looked for support in other cities. We didn't get it because they, as Gayle said, they saw it with sympathy and with goodwill, but they were not willing to do the action that was needed, which was to put their signature on that joint powers agreement, fearful of the Wall Street and so on. And I must say that one of those cities, at least, had several progressive members in the city council and some Green members of the city council as well. So, and the other question that was stated about the Green Party and what I've heard, I mentioned in 2004, I was part, and many others, and all of us in Richmond Greens were part of the Kamehista contingent, if you will. We kind of focused instead, pretty much on Richmond and our pressing problems. We didn't get involved in the debates. We couldn't. We had our own issues to deal with. Our city was, having 47 homicides. By the 75% reduction brought us to 11. 11 too many, but quite a bit of a reduction because of our focus. But the way I see it for the future is I envision a coalition of parties, of progressive parties, at some point. But right now, I'm focusing on building a movement, an independent movement. I think the independent movement has to happen before a party really explodes, if you will. I think ultimately a political arm needs to happen of a movement, and that is a party. And I guess I see maybe there'll be a coalescence of progressive parties. I don't know.
1 minute? 1 minute? That's pretty short. All right, so I just want to speak as a person of color and the collective experience of my community. We are certain that we need to dismantle this capital system. We don't need fake allies. It is not enough to reform this corrupt system. This US government is on our indigenous lands all across this continent. When we mean fake allies, we refer to those who co-opt our movements and perpetuate a limited perspective given by society that we're taught from a young age. What we're trying to say here is that we should not encourage independents to support Democrats. We should encourage independents to support Greens, because Greens have the best interest of our communities. Already in San Fernando Valley, independents are turning green for obvious reasons. It's one thing to work on issues, it's another thing to allow the Democratic Party to co-opt movements, to co-opt issues for their own branding. Yeah. As you all know, the Green Party exists as a movement base, but also it exists in the electoral form as well. And we do need that electoral arm to challenge the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, that duopoly that control and limit the perspective of our society. So, in the electoral arena, the Greens challenge Democrats. In the movement arena, Green Party helps build movements and grows leaders. Now, you're asking for an endorsement. So I wanted to ask, what are you going to do to help build the Green Party? So.
First of all, as I said, I'm running as an independent and no party preference. I am building a movement that has already been spurred forward 30 years past what it was based on a 2016 campaign. The Green Party was not able to make that leap. It would take another 30 years. That is not to say that the Green Party isn't part of this movement and that the Green Party's values aren't correct, and that you shouldn't keep building your party and sharing your values and building a movement. But what I'm saying is that the movement is bigger than the Green Party. We are in a special moment in history. If we don't take advantage of how far the movement has come based on this 2016 presidential election, we are missing an opportunity. And people are staying in the Democratic Party. Many Bernie-crats are staying in them, not all. Some of them, like myself, are independent Bernie-crats, but many are staying in it and believe it can be reformed. And it's a good fight, whether we believe it has any chance of success or not.